Hello friends, I'm Kayla. This is my mid-year book freakout tag. This was created by Chammy and Ellie. Years and years ago, I've been doing it every year and I add more of my own questions into it every year. Though I have all the books I've read this year so far behind me, this is not a stats video. This is not an organized by ratings and then genre and then whatever else kind of video. I did organize it by genre because I feel like I'm going to want to talk about different stacks independently as I go through these questions. I'm not totally sure because I wrote the questions down like a month ago and I haven't prepared, and that's my favorite way to go into a tag. But maybe I'll just like quickly scan without my head in the way what I've read so you can see. There isn't a question about how much you've read, but I will tell you. No, I won't. Editing, Kayla, can you please do the math of 75 is what I read in the first quarter and then 64 the second quarter? Is that 139? It might be 139. What an unsatisfying number. So the stacks in the front, the far left is all the romance I've read this year. Then there's a stack of nonfiction and anthologies that I'll move out of the way. And now on the far left is just like general fiction, some historical, literary, real life stuff. Then we have a stack of the mystery books and the thrillers that I've read this year. Sci-fi and general weirdness, some dystopian, futuristic, that kind of vibe. Then a true fantasy stack, and then a horror stack. So that's everything that I've read this year. Now I'm not going to put it all back together because I just don't feel like I'm going to need to reference a single romance in this video because I haven't had a 5-star romance. I haven't had a 5-star horror either, and I just feel like it's messing with my year. I need to have some wins in those genres because I'm reading them so intentionally, and to not have any huge successes, like things that I can, well, no, I've had things that I can recommend, but nothing that I've just felt so passionate about I can't stop talking about. I need more of that. So I think what the first question of the tag should be, I don't know if I've said this in other years, but it wasn't on my list this year from maybe the original tag. And I just want to know how your reading year is going. I don't know if you want to answer these questions in the comments below and let me know your feelings on everything, but my reading year has been just okay. Like, I feel like I have had some 5 stars. I've had a lot of 4 stars. I haven't really hated a ton of books. I talked about in my goals that I really just want to read what I want to read, and I'm making videos that are a mix of things I'm interested in and make fun concepts for me, but I still just don't feel like this is my reading year yet, and I hope that it goes more in that direction the second half of the year. Not that I can control that in any way. The first actual question of the tag is your favorite book of the year, and I wish I was more confident about this answer, but I am gonna pull it from the weird stack because I think it's Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson. This is about children who spontaneously combust and they get a caretaker who comes and tries to stop that from happening. It's a found family. It's an odd premise, but it's not one of those weird fiction books. It follows a pretty traditional plot. The thing about this is it's super memorable to me. It stands out, but I wouldn't say it had my favorite characters, my favorite plot, my favorite writing, yet I'm calling it a favorite. So I don't know what that's about. And then the next question is favorite sequel. So I have read a good amount of sequels this year. I mean, series aren't my number one thing anyway, but I've read more sequels than maybe normal, especially romance ones, companion books. But I think my answer to this question is the same every single year, and it's whatever Wayward Children book has come out in that year. Oh, I actually had 2 copies of this in the stack because Tor sent me this so kindly as an ARC, and I read it in a video where I reread the entire series, and then I found it on sale, so I purchased my own hardcover. And this is the, oh no, 9th book? I feel like 8th book in the Wayward Children series, where Eleanor West invites children into her home and gives them a safe space to grapple with their experiences having visited magical lands and returning, and nobody believes them. This child in here is Ancy, and she goes to this magical world that's a nexus into other worlds, and it was super emotional, incredibly well done, as is every book in this series. Next up is favorite reread. So that could be the entire Wayward Children series because quite a few of them, even though I've always given them 5 stars, they surprised me on this reread of how good they were. But I don't know if you can see or you remember that I also reread 2 of my all-time favorite books this year, which was just such a good decision. And since I've talked endlessly about these 2 books the last couple years, I'm not going to waste your time doing that, but I will say my most successful reread was Bunny. Just the magic and the weirdness, and having not touched it or picked it up in years. It was a real treat. Question number 4, a new release you need to read. So that answer is not going to be here. It's something that I've probably already purchased or already said was my most anticipated, but it's already come out and I haven't read it yet. What do I feel shame for? Oh, obviously. In my goals video, I didn't make a lot of goals, but one of them that I felt really confident in, and I said in the video, maybe if I say it out loud, I'll be manifesting it and I can't go back on it. Maybe you'll hold me accountable. And that was reading mystery and thriller books when they come out, not waiting for months, because I am so easily swayed, more so than any other genre, by negative reviews with a mystery or thriller book, even though I know that it's so subjective. And I don't think I have a single person in this community that I agree with 100% of the time in this genre. Somebody can give something 5 stars and so will I, and they'll give something 1 star and I'll give it 5 stars. But for some reason, I'm so easily dissuaded from mysteries that I was excited about, because like the first couple of reviews will roll in and I've already purchased the book and they'll be like, it's not really worth it. And I'm like, okay, well then I'm not gonna read it. So these two specifically, especially because they're from authors that I've read before and I was highly anticipating them, I saw like one review come in that was like, no, it's just okay. And now it's like, how do I convince myself to read them? I don't know. I don't know why this is my personality, but we've got Just the Nicest Couple by Mary Kubica and The Only Survivors by Megan Miranda. I want to read them. Maybe it's because I don't often fit mystery and thriller books into video concepts. I'm reading them more on my own time. I don't know which ones to prioritize. So I have failed my goal. I've absolutely failed at my goal. Let me know if you want me to do another video that's like a goal check-in. We could make it more than just that. I'm thinking, I've seen people do these like summer reset vlogs. I feel like that's something that I need in my life. And there's a lot of things we could do in it. Like we could accomplish goals in it. We could scratch off things off that map I've been putting off. We could talk about any channel related things too. So if you'd be interested in that, or you have any like questions about anything about like the YouTube process, I haven't done a video like that in a long time. So I could mix together a whole bunch of things and make it into a video. But maybe you don't want to see that. I don't know. Anyway, I also just got this thriller and now I feel like, honestly, this is one that could sit on my shelf for months too. 0 Days by Ruth Ware. Because I was excited about it, as excited as I am about every Ruth Ware, and then a couple people have said, yeah, it's fine. And now I don't know what to do. Okay, I have a second answer to the question though. Books that I need to read that have already come out. I told myself I wasn't gonna do this because I did my romance era. I started it last year and I read so many flops. And it took me a while to find some that were wins. And now I've just convinced myself that I'm a romance girly, and I didn't want to start buying romance releases because I really still barely know my taste. I don't know who to trust for romance recommendations. I still don't know who aligns with me. I still don't even know like who I am as a romance reader. But now I've started buying new romance releases. So I've got the new Abby Jimenez. And I got The Neighbor Favor just because it sounds good. And I got Practice Makes Perfect, even though I DNF'd a romance book from this author. I didn't realize it was the same author. And then this one, just because the cover is so good. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm buying them and I'm not reading them. And now I have this whole extra section of my TBR shelf dedicated to unread romance that I didn't want. I don't know what I'm doing and I'm scared. I'm gonna move on to the next question though, which is a genre you're reading the most or a genre you've been reading more of? I added this question just because I'm always interested in how people's taste and reading is evolving and what they find themselves picking up more. For me, it's right here and it's like silly sci-fi. So between Several People Are Typing, which was picked by my TBR jar, to Fina, which was picked by a booktuber recommendation, to The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which was because of canceled videos, Video Experiment. And then, I don't know, I don't think I would put Gideon the Ninth or Binti into silly sci-fi, but also How to Survive in a Science Fictional Universe, or whatever that one's called, that I read because it was recommended for my zodiac sign. Like, I've been picking up these books in contexts outside of things that I'm picking for myself, and so many of them have been wins, and I'm just really appreciating like fun, silly, light-hearted science fiction. And I've most definitely been picking up less hard sci-fi and sci-fi horror, because I know that I'm in my softer girl era and I thought that meant romance, but I think what it actually means is cozy fantasy, but I'm actually leaning more cozy sci-fi, which I wasn't necessarily expecting. So that's where I'm at with genres, though I'm still reading the same amount of horror and not loving it, but my fantasy and my real life stuff is all going pretty well. Let's move into the questions of a book that made you happy and a book that made you sad. And guess what? I have answers, and my answers are not hard. Usually in this tag, I really struggle with a book that made you happy because I typically in the past have read a lot of sad, melancholy, angry books. And then also I struggled, I think last year, especially with sad books, because I just wasn't picking those up. I was leaning towards more happier things. This year I have had a really good balance of moods. So for books that have made me happy are exactly what I'm talking about with the silly sci-fi. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and several people are typing, these were just so silly and fun to read. And then I think like everybody's answer to this question is going to be Legends and Lattes, because it's just so soft and warm. And then also I laughed out loud reading Nothing to See Here. So that definitely has to be on the list. Will I ever have just one answer to a question? Probably not. A book that made me sad, I teared up reading Lost and Woman and Found that I just referenced. I also teared up a little bit reading Happy Place and maybe a couple different things, but the one that I was absolutely bawling through, which I was completely expecting, was the one by Frederick Bachman. Can't remember what it's called. The Long Way Home Gets Longer and Longer? The Way Home Gets Longer and Longer, or something like that, because it's about old age, dementia, Alzheimer's, what have you, and family connection, and it was just so short. The fact that I was crying on like the second page is a feat. I respect and love that book a lot, even though I hate what it did to me. Next is your most anticipated book for the second half of the year. There's absolutely no way I'm gonna have one answer to this. One of them though I have right here, because I incredibly have an arc of Rouge by Mona Awad, which I have very high hopes for. I'm trying to go into with a reasonable expectation, but I'm so excited to read this. It comes out in September, I think. And then my other two I would say are, oh, what's it called? The Darkest Hour or Darkest Midnight or something by Ashley Winstead, because Ashley Winstead is my girl. A twisted tale of murder, obsessive love, and the beastly urges that lie dormant within us all. I think it's like a small town. There's legends and lore, and there's a lot of like religious overtone. I just think it's gonna be great, and the cover is incredible. And then the other one, though I haven't read from Chloe Gong, she has like such a solid fan base with her These Violent Delights series that I don't plan to pick up, but it makes me trust what this is going to be. It's called Immortal Longings, and it's adult. It's inspired by Shakespeare, and it's just like an enemies to lovers fantasy that I think is going to be right up my alley. I'm just assuming. But let's move on to the next one, which is Biggest Disappointment. I don't think it's necessarily fair to put an author that I've never read from before as a disappointment, because like how was that fair of me to put them on this like pedestal that they were going to be my new favorite author, this is my new favorite book. But it just doesn't sit right with me that I haven't had a 5-star horror. So I'm disappointed in myself that my first time reading Andy Davidson with The Hollow Kind, it didn't turn out to be a 5-star. I'm disappointed in myself that Bad Cree by Jessica Johns wasn't a 5-star. I'm disappointed that 12 Nights in Rotterhouse by J.W. Walker, because it started out so well, didn't turn out to be a 5-star, but like, is any of that fair? But if we're talking about horror from authors I have read from, that I have liked horror from them before, and I just assumed these were going to be huge wins, I think my most disappointing books have to be How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix, because it just turned out to be too campy for me to absolutely love. And then A House of Good Bones by T. Kingfisher, because the concept and the writing is so good. And then I just didn't care about much of anything that went on in here or enjoy it. So this ended up being a 2 and this was a 3. And then obviously anytime I pick something for the Literally Dead book club, I want it to be a huge win for me and everybody. So I am disappointed that these two weren't. I think more so The Spite House by Johnny Compton, because I just don't think that I have picked the perfect haunted house story for the book club yet. And we're 3.5 years in, so we should have gotten our perfect haunted house book, or at least my perfect haunted house book. And while this was good and I gave it like a 3 point something, it wasn't perfect, and I just wanted it to be perfect. I guess on that note though, I should also mention Finley Donovan, because this again was a book club pick. It was a risky book club pick because it's part of a series and it's a cozy mystery, and it went well for enough people that I don't regret picking it. But I just think that the magic of the first book has not continued for me, and I'm ready for it to be done. While appreciating that cozy mystery series are definitely a thing, it's set up that way, lots of people are enjoying it, it is traditional within the genre, I have just personally lost interest. Next is biggest surprise. Okay, fun. Here's a romance answer actually, because I gave this 4.5 stars. This is one of the closest moments I've gotten this year. It's called Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute, and it was a big surprise because I did not like the last Talia Hibbert I read, and everyone keeps telling me to pick up other books in the series, but I'm just worried to do that. So I thought, why don't I read a YA from her? And it did work because all of the things that I find uncomfortable or too much for me in like Chloe Brown, this didn't include. A YA romance getting this high of a rating and Talia Hibbert getting this high of a rating definitely surprised me. And also, this whole stack is about to fall down if I do this. Oh my gosh, I'm so talented. Also, I just realized for the first time, I think after doing this tag for 5 years, that you could answer this question in 2 different ways. Biggest surprise as in your biggest surprise, something that you didn't think you would love and you did. So like Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater, just because it's cozy fantasy. Cozy fantasy has been a hit or a miss for me. So this is something I picked up thinking I would like, but I didn't know it was going to be 5 stars and incredible. So that was a surprise. And then you could answer it biggest surprise as in the book that had the biggest surprise in it. While I read a lot of things with a lot of plot twists a lot of the time, I think this had a plot twist I definitely didn't see coming at all, which doesn't happen to me very often with books. So this is a mystery novel, The Other Side of Night by Adam Hamdy, which if you like slow detective books and you like a little bit of weirdness, I would recommend. Next question is new favorite author. So this is a tough question to answer because my whole thing is I need an author to get 3 5 stars or 4.5 to be considered an all-time favorite. And no author has hit that this year. I've been trying to find that and I haven't been successful yet. I did previously have 2 5-star Carmen Maria Machado books though, and I read an essay from her in here, and I feel like that should count. So I'm gonna say Carmen Maria Machado. My secondary answer, who I've only completed 2 things from, is Ocean Vuong. I just feel like this was everything On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous that I wanted it to be, that it needed to be. It was beautiful, and I would call this author a favorite author. And then, so that's an author I read 3 things from favorite, 2 things from favorite. Is there an author here that I've only read 1 thing from and I want to call them a favorite? Interestingly, there are a couple mystery thriller books that I've given 5 stars, but I don't know if I want to read from that author again. Like, I feel like maybe it was just a one-time thing, it was perfect, let's not try to find more. And then I look at something like Something in the Water by Catherine Steadman, which I gave a 4 to 4.5, and I want to read more from this author. I have her on my TBR shelf, and I'm excited because this wasn't exactly what I was expecting. It surprised me in a lot more ways than I thought it would, and now I want to read more from this author. So this is a potential favorite in the making. Next question is your favorite character. Cozy books just by nature lend themselves well to this, so I want to say like every character from Half a Soul, just because that is the vibe that's given to you. It's soft and it's warm, and the magic is just really interesting, and the characters embody those things, but then also everyone from Legends and Lattes, which I seem to have misplaced. I don't know where it went. But then also cozy mystery, because I read the second book in the Veronica Speedwell series, and Veronica and Stoker continue to be my favorite characters, and I think will throughout the entire series. Then we've got most beautiful cover. Let me answer this for another question. Half a Soul. I absolutely love this. The green is beautiful. The moon, the scissors. I just think this is so pretty. But if I'm thinking 2023 releases, like what is my favorite cover of 2023? I think it might be The Haunting of Alejandra by V. Castro, because faces and flowers are just so for me. And then also 19 Claws and a Blackbird by Augustina Bastarrica, because pink and hands are so for me. I think these are my 2 official answers, but I also think Peach Pit is just so fun. And then also I just recently picked up Dead 11, and I'm obsessed with this. The VHS, just the grungy kind of old school vibe. I love this a lot. Oh wait, and then wait. I forgot about The Last Tale of the Flower Bride. This is again Faces and Flowers, and I think this is so pretty. Okay, now a book you need to read by the end of the year is an absolutely ridiculous question to ever include because I have read 139 things. I will probably read 139 more things. So my answer is 139 books. But while I was just looking for my favorite cover, I knew this question was coming, and I grabbed a couple things that I have recently bought that are 2023 releases. And I feel like I should be prioritizing 2023 releases because I don't want to go into 2024 thinking, why didn't I read Chain Gang All-Stars by now? Why didn't I read Camp Zero? I've got Everything the Darkness Eats by Eric LaRocca. Like I just showed you, I need to read Dead 11. I also need to read the most beautiful covers of the year. I need to read Rouge. I need to read those mystery and romance books that I showed you that I bought and haven't read yet. So it's a good thing we've got 6 months to go. I should be able to fit in everything successfully, I think. A couple questions I add at the end is like a favorite video that you have made, just because I love hearing other people promote their own channels and talk about like the things that they've done. And then I also ask your favorite community members, people maybe you've subscribed to recently or you've loved watching. So for me, my favorite video that I've made this year, I kind of want to say, oh, it's so hard. The canceled videos video, because it led to the most 5 stars of any reading vlog this year. I read Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone in it, which was a 5-star. I read Half a Soul in it. I read my favorite book club selection of the year, The Writing Retreat. I also read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So that's like my most successful reading vlog. Is it my favorite like actual video that I've made? I don't know. I want to say also reading booktuber recommendations, just because when I redo video concepts, it's because it's been so long since the first one and I still love the idea, but I don't love this being what's like representing my channel for people to find and watch. So I like doing new updated versions of things. So like that'll show up in the algorithm, even though I didn't have a lot of wins in that video. And then maybe I should say I read and ranked the first chapter of every book on my TBR and my 5-star audit, because those two have made completely spin-off content possible that I've already made that I'll be making next year. Getting more in tune with my reading and seeing what's actually on my TBR shelf and figuring out what I want to read is so important to making the content I make. So maybe those ones, even though they're not the most interesting to watch because they're so stats based and organized. And then as far as community members, let me just go through my subscription box and see who I've been watching a lot. I have been really itching for, I don't want to say cozier content because I feel like that implies more lifestyle content, and I still gravitate towards like discussions about books and book reviews and fun challenges and TBR building. But I have found myself gravitating towards people who give me a sense of like peace while I'm watching their videos, and I don't really know how to describe that. They just have a warm, inviting style of speaking, and I definitely sometimes am in the mood for a high energy, fast-paced video, but I would say like Stephanie from Stephanie Bookish and Monet from Life as Monet, and maybe Mina Reads. I've always watched a lot from Mina. Somebody should study what Mina does to my brain, because Mina and I do not read similarly at all. There's something about the way that she talks about books that makes me feel like I should be reading them. She's just constantly convincing me I have to pick up her new favorite smutty romance. And I don't know how she accomplishes that, because I definitely shouldn't. Those are people I've watched for years also. Some people I've subscribed to recently are Melina Reads. She is a Dutch booktuber and I've really been enjoying her content. And then also It's Bells, who hasn't made a new video since I subscribed. I think she's currently in school, so she's really busy, but there's just something so captivating about her videos and I really want her to make more. So everybody go subscribe, because then when she comes back and has more time for BookTube, she has more of a reason to do that, because we've been there waiting in the wings. So I'll link all those people down below. I'm subscribed to so many people and I feel like I mention different people every year, just hoping to, I don't know, help you find more people that you want to subscribe to, even if they're completely different from me and my reading. But anyway, if you don't want to answer all the questions, I would definitely love to know a favorite book so far this year, a booktuber who you've recently subscribed to or whose content you're just loving lately, and what else? What genre you've been reading more of, what you have felt drawn to, what has kind of caught you off guard with your reading. Thank you so much for watching. That's my mid-year book freakout tag. I'll link all my old ones down below. I can't imagine why you'd want to go back and watch them, but they exist, so I might as well add some links and things. So I will see you later. Bye.